Golden Demon is probably the world's most well-known and famous miniature painting competition held by Games Workshop, which for one weekend invites the best painters in the world to gather together and show off their insane skills. And last weekend, this ultimate miniature painting competition was held at the world's biggest wargaming, Warhammer, and miniature event ever, Adepticon. And I didn't go, so now I have massive FOMO, which at this point I don't think it's FOMO because it's not fear of missing out, because I did miss out, so it's more like I missed out and now I'm sad, whatever that acronym is, that's what I've got. Every single year that Golden Demon happens, I always look at the winners and the not winners and all of the entries in general, and I'm always in shock because I'm always thinking, surely it can't get any better than this. Like, this has to be the best miniature painting which has ever been, and nothing will ever top it in the whole world ever. But as usual, this year's 2024 Golden Demon feels like it blew every single other competition completely out of the water. So instead of us all hanging around being sad that we weren't there, I thought today that we could look at some of the best painted, wildest, and most impressive entries into Golden Demon 2024, including some of the overall winners of the competition and the winner of the coveted Slayer's Sword. Whoosh. The first miniature I feel really compelled to show you and talk about is the Lord of Hubris painted by David Ugolini, because I feel it's a great example of the kind of miniature which really sets the standard as a Golden Demon winning paint job. This is the gold winner for the single miniature category, and you can really see why it won gold. The miniature itself is a relatively simple one, and I think that when it came out, a lot of people overlooked it because of this, but David used this to his advantage to really let his insane, almost pointillism style shine through. You can see when I zoom in on this miniature that it's been so carefully and subtly shaded and highlighted and completely painted using the softest and most intricate little dots and brushstrokes. The runner-up in the single miniature category and the winner of the silver trophy was won by Demosthenes Xylus and his incredibly well painted, if not slightly terrifying, Radikar the Beast miniature. And I reckon this category must have been such a tricky one to judge. I do not envy the judges because just look at this guy. It is literally perfect in every single way, shape and form. The lighting on the skin, particularly on the face, is just so spooky and smooth and moody, but I'm especially impressed and enthralled with that like dark non-metallic armor and awesome scenic base. It's really just too good. And speaking of awesome scenic bases, it's quite common at Golden Demon for people to go almost as hard on making these incredible narrative storytelling scenic bases as they do painting the miniatures. And I know it's a miniature painting competition and I shouldn't be focusing so much on the bases, but the Age of Sigmar unit category was one of my favorite categories in the entire competition for just that reason. All three of the winners in this category, including our very own Ninjon, who won bronze, yay him, not only painted incredible miniatures, but framed them beautifully in little scenic dioramas, and I especially love all the greenery and the little tiny waterfalls included in Michael Thomas's Lizardman or Seraphon entry. And the way that all these perfectly painted, smooth bones frame this Nurgle piece perfectly, if not a little grossly, works so well and adds so much to this miniature piece. Like, for real, all three of these entries are incredible, and so are the bases, and I'm not ashamed to say it. But just to prove that you don't need to be some kind of master scenic terrain maker in order to score high at Golden Demon, let's take a look at the gold and silver winners from this year's Underworld's Warband category. Both of these entries are just straight up gorgeously painted miniature warbands, and maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I really love these bone splitters which won silver. The way that Johan made them look almost deserty with those slightly yellowy muted tones and soft sandy bases is absolutely stunning. Now, the Horus heresy category isn't one that I'm super stoked for usually. I love the lore, but a lot of the time I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna see a tank, can't wait to see a tank, and I'm sorry, tank fans, but tanks don't really do it for me. But this year, I was completely blown away by the entries. Wait till you see. Firstly, let's face it, I am a woman who likes to see a Primarch. I just see a big souped up guy in space with daddy issues and I'm like, that's cool. And this year, the winner of bronze, that's right, bronze in the Horus heresy category, was this incredible and terrifyingly well executed Horus Ascended painted by Aaron Clark. I'm sure I'm not alone when I say I really hate painting trim on armor, and that just makes this miniature like 1,000 times more impressive, because oh boy did Aaron paint that trim, but also look at his face, look at the glowies, even the subtle cracks and weathering on the red eyeballs on his armor is untamed and insane, and it's maybe the best version of this miniature that I have ever seen painted, and that's pretty wild. But the winner of gold in the Horus Heresy category really knocked my socks off. Just check this guy out. Like, what even is this miniature? I think it's a custom Perturabo or something like that, but it's heavily customized, which is impressive enough. But whatever he is, he was painted absolutely beautifully once again by David Ugolini in that same fine pointerly style which we saw in his previous winning Lord of Hubris entry. And David just seems to be absolutely dominating Golden Demon this year. Like, you go, David. Get those golden demons. Before we move on to the real top winners, hard hitters, and some of my favourite entries from the entire competition, I want to give some love to some other entries which perhaps didn't win the top 3 in their categories, but which won top place in my heart. Also, if you're enjoying this weird little review video I'm doing right now, then please let me know in the comments section, because I've never really done anything like this before and I want to know if you like it. Also, if you do like it, consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Thank you. Or if you want to support me or my channel or any of my weird endeavors even more, then consider subscribing to my Patreon, where at the lowest tier you can join in my Discord, where we like to have fun and talk about miniatures and other weird stuff all day long. Thank you very much. Let's get back to the miniatures. Firstly, we have one of my favourite miniatures ever, Gabs the Female Space Warrior, which was painted up by Zambies. I always love seeing older and weirder miniatures like this one here entered into Golden Demon, especially when they're given a paint job which lives up to more modern day Golden Demon standards, and this entry certainly didn't disappoint. And speaking of old miniatures who have been given a new lease of life, we have this absolutely perfect and adorable Skarsnik and Goblet entry. This piece was done by Warhammer Miniatures over on Instagram, and look how well these little guys are painted down to the non-metallic on Skarsnik's trim. This is definitely a massive inspiration for me personally, who would also love to enter Golden Demon one day with similarly old goofy miniatures. He also did this incredible entry from I think last year's Golden Demon. Remember this? It's super cool. You should follow this guy. This incredible entry into the Diorama category was highly recommended by people I know for me to cover, and it was made by Fletcher Giles, who also won silver in the epic scale category too, with a similarly lovely entry. But this zen-looking, calming Tau drone piece really takes the cake for me. I love the use of the Lumineth tree pieces and the waterfall and the soft lighting, and the colours are just beautiful. And the perfectly painted and serenely floating Tau drones really makes this piece come together in just the best way. And how could I do this list without mentioning the miniature, which I think I saw posted on my social media feeds maybe more than the actual winner of Golden Demon, and that is, of course, the Power Wash Simulator entry. This hilarious piece was made by Amory Burgess and depicts a scene from the now quite popular Warhammer Power Washing Simulator game. But it's all well and good to find this entry a little bit funny, but it's actually really well done too. I especially love the way that the point where the jet washing stream meets the power washer is infinitely small, like it would be in real life. And at first I wasn't sure how they did it, but now I think that the water part is connected to the dreadnought and not the power washing mechanism at all, creating the illusion of an infinitely small and invisible join between the two. Now let's get back to some of the big time winners of Golden Demon, including some of my favourite entries into the entire competition, starting with these two knights entered into the brand new Old World category. The winner of gold in this category was this amazing troll miniature who was painted by Nicholas Rubens Mortensen, and he definitely deserves his gold. But I personally love knights, and the silver and bronze winners, Raphael Boyan and Andrew Waxtell, knocked it out of the park with their entries. I especially love Waxtell's take on what seems to be the classic Green Knight, who is one of my favourite old characters and miniatures from the old world. The big tree in the background and the cohesive colour scheme is just perfect for the setting and the tone of this miniature. Funnily enough, but maybe not because they're just extremely talented, Nicholas Mortensen, who won gold in the old world category, also won gold in another one of my favourite categories, Blood Bowl. He won gold with his borderline adorable Nurgle Star player, and yes, maybe I'm a little bit biased because of the tiny, perfectly painted Nurgling sidekick on his shoulder, and because he included maybe the littlest little guy I have ever seen in my life, which is this fly on his base. Inspired. And speaking of little guys, in silver for Blood Bowl, we have this beautifully painted halfling team done by Bob Cahoon. And again, I'm sure none of the judges were swayed at all by the inclusion of these adorable tiny little squirrels and ferrets on this entry, and they looked past all those elements and saw what this entry really is, which is just wonderfully painted and beautifully presented. Before we talk about the overall winner of Golden Demon and the coveted Slayer Sword entry, I want to talk about another two entries which I think were some of the best things entered into Golden Demon this year, and which are also maybe some of the best miniatures I've seen in my entire life and career as a miniature painter and hobbyist. But funnily enough, both of the entries I'm about to talk about and the Slayer Sword winner were all from the same category, which was Diorama and Duel. Let's start with James Tarrow's bronze winning entry, and again, it feels almost weird to say it got bronze because it's insanely good, and I think it may be one of my favourite things entered in the entire competition. Look at it! It's hard to know where to start because it's just so perfect. Obviously, the big wow factor here isn't just the incredible paint job, but James's clever use of perspective, which has been pulled off using a combination of a strange force perspective-y sort of plinth and the use of an epic scale orc bomber with regular scale grots in the foreground to create a seemingly very dramatic and dynamic scene in just a very small area. And speaking of perfectly painted dramatic scenes, prepare to be absolutely speechless as I show you the silver entry into the Diorama category, painted by Benjamin Cantor. Because wow, I don't really know what to say here because this is definitely one of the best miniature painted things I have ever seen in my entire life. Benjamin has created this perfectly rendered, almost video game looking scene from Space Hulk, and yeah, I would say that this is pretty good, right? For me, I think the most impressive part of this entry is the lighting and how it interacts with the red reflective armor on the Space Marines. Look at how that menacing green glow perfectly catches and frames this dude in a hallway, and how the OSL coming from this gun illuminates the front of this guy's armor. The whole piece is so amazing and so impressive, and I'm super jealous of anyone who got to see this in real life because I bet it was even cooler. And now for the entry you've all been waiting for, the winner of the Slayer Sword and the overall winner of Golden Demon 2024. It was won by Alexandra dos Santos and his incredible mirrored vampire diorama. If you frequent any Warhammer spaces on the internet, then you've probably already seen this miniature 100 times because I think it got the whole Warhammer community just absolutely shocked. At a first glance, because I hadn't really seen this miniature in person, I wasn't really sure what I was looking at. Had the artist just presented their miniature placed on a mirror, or had they painted the reflection on a flat surface and the photo was just taken at a clever angle? Well, no, the artist has created an entire mirror reflection of the top half of their diorama as a 3D miniature on the bottom half of their diorama. And if you're at home thinking, well, isn't that quite easy to do? Don't you just need to buy two of every miniature, paint them both, and then flip one upside down? Then No, I don't think it's as simple as that. I think it's actually incredibly hard to pull this kind of diorama off. Because that's not how reflections work. You can't just get two of the same miniature and flip it upside down. Which means that this artist either had to scan, print, sculpt, or perform some kind of magic ritual in order to create this perfect mirror image of the scene above. And if that wasn't cool enough for you, the reflection of the vampire doesn't have a body because he doesn't have a reflection because he's a vampire. And I think that this is a great example of the kind of miniatures which just win Golden Demon. It's a great and original concept which is wonderfully executed and beautifully painted, and most importantly, it doesn't skimp at all on any of the little details. And I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. I think that this video probably could have been like 3 hours long because I want to cover all the incredible entries I saw from Golden Demon being posted on the internet by people who were actually at Adepticon. And if you liked what you saw here and you're craving some more incredible miniatures to look at, then I implore you to please head on over to your favorite social media platform and just look at the Golden Demon tag, because the amount of talent in this year's Golden Demon competition was just crazy. Or you can head on over to the Golden Demon Compendium, where they have an incredibly detailed and extensive collection of Golden Demon winners, both from recently and the far past, which can remind you that gold winners back in the 80s and 90s used to look like this, and it's just incredible and really good fun to see and to track how far miniature painting has come. And just in case you've watched this video and at this point you're feeling a bit down on yourself because you've seen all these incredible entries and you're thinking, I should just chuck my brushes away because there's no way I will ever be as good as these guys, then please don't feel like that. Try and just do your best to practice and be proud of your own achievements along the way. And remember, everyone is on their own personal journey, and the only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself. But as usual, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for being rogues. I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Bye bye!